Here are Sarah and Mike. They both work at the same company. Sarah works her tail off. She's first in, last out. She solves the hardest problems. Her work is, honestly, it's flawless. But here's the thing. Nobody really sees it. She's in the back corner, heads down, cranking out results. Mike's different. He shows up to every meeting. He's got opinions. He's always visible. His work is fine, just fine. Nothing special. Guess you got promoted. Yeah, Mike. And before you think this is just about one bad manager or one terrible company, ask yourself this. Why does every organization on the planet operate this way? Your school, your job, your government. The people at the top aren't always the best. They're just the ones you remember seeing. Today, I'm going to show you the real rules of the game. And I promise you, once you see it, you'll never look at success the same way again. Let's go. Here's the core issue, and it's actually pretty simple when you think about it. Competence is invisible. Like, literally. You can't see someone's skills just by looking at them. You can't open up their brain and check their competence levels like it's a video game stat screen, right? Think about it. When your boss is deciding who to promote, they can't actually see all the work you did. They didn't watch you solve that impossible problem at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. They don't know about the 3 hours you spend fixing someone else's mistake. But you know what they can see? Who spoke up in the meeting? Who sent that email to the whole team? Who had lunch with the VP last Thursday? And here's where it gets interesting. Your brain, my brain, everyone's brain, processes about 11 million bits of information every single second. 11 million! But you know how much we can actually consciously think about? About 50 bits. 50 out of 11 million. So when your manager is sitting there trying to figure out who deserves a promotion, their brain is basically drowning. They've got 100 people to think about, they're stressed, they've got 17 other decisions to make today. What does the brain do? It takes shortcuts. And the biggest shortcut of all? Who do I remember? Who have I seen? Visibility isn't beating competence because the system is broken. Visibility is winning because the human brain literally can't handle anything else. So there's this guy named Harvey Coleman. Back in the 90s, he studied thousands of careers trying to figure out what actually makes people successful. And what he found, it's called the PI model. P-I-E, performance, image, exposure. Now, if you asked 100 people what matters most for getting promoted, most of them would say performance, right? Like, do good work, get rewarded. That's how it's supposed to work. Here's what the data actually shows. Performance, your actual work, your results, your competence, accounts for about 10% of whether you get promoted. 10%. Image, how people perceive you, your personal brand, whether you seem like a leader, that's 30%. And exposure, who knows you exist, who's seen you, who remembers your name? 60%. 60% of your career success comes down to whether the right people have seen you. Think about that. You could be the best performer on your entire team, and it matters less than showing up to the right meetings. Now, you might be thinking, that's messed up, that's not fair. And you're right, it's not fair. But it's predictable. Once you understand that this is the game, you can't be surprised when someone like Mike gets promoted over someone like Sarah. The system isn't rewarding the best player, it's rewarding the most visible player. So let me tell you what happens to Sarah. Sarah's manager? Let's call him David. David knows Sarah is incredible. She's his secret weapon. When there's a crisis, he gives it to Sarah. When there's an impossible deadline, Sarah handles it. And here's the twisted part. David is never going to let her leave. See, David gets evaluated on his team's results, and Sarah is those results. If Sarah gets promoted to a different department, David's numbers tank. He's got to find someone new, train them up, Hope they're half as good? So what does David do? He buries her. He gives her all the critical work, the stuff that nobody sees but keeps everything running. He doesn't invite her to the big cross-department meetings. When someone asks, "Hey, who should we get for this high-visibility project?" David says, Sarah's too busy with essential stuff right now." In her performance review, he gives her a great score, 5 stars, excellent performer. But then there's this other rating, potential for advancement. And that one he keeps low, because that rating is what the other managers see. Sarah is in what researchers call the workhorse trap. The better she performs, the more valuable she becomes to David, and the more valuable she becomes to David, the more he has to hide her from everyone else. Meanwhile, Mike is fine. He's replaceable. So when Mike says, "Hey, I'd love to work on that project with the senior VP," David's like, "Yeah, sure, go for it." And then Mike gets promoted. And everyone thinks it's because Mike's so talented. It's not. It's because Mike was cheaper to lose. And if you think this is just some corporate annoyance, let me tell you about a company that collapsed because of this exact dynamic. I won't name names, but in the early 2000s, one of America's biggest energy companies imploded overnight. Billions evaporated. People lost their life savings. And you know who was running that ship into the ground? The most visible guys. The ones who talked the best game. The ones who looked like geniuses in every meeting. The ones who knew how to manage their image while the actual numbers were falling apart. The competent accountants and analysts who saw the problems? They were invisible. They raised concerns. Nobody listened because they didn't have the exposure. They didn't have the credibility that comes from being seen. Visibility doesn't just beat competence. Sometimes it protects incompetence long enough to cause catastrophic damage. So here's where it gets really interesting, because it's not just about your manager playing games. It's about how our brains are wired to see the world. Imagine you walk into a meeting. There's 10 people around the table. You've never met any of them. The meeting starts, and you need to figure out who to listen to, who to trust, who knows what they're talking about. Your brain has about 30 seconds to make these calls. So what does it do? It looks for shortcuts, visible shortcuts. Who's sitting at the head of the table? Who's dressed more formally? Who's older? Who spoke first? Who did everyone else look at when the question was asked? And here's the kicker. Once your brain decides, okay, that person seems important, it starts filtering everything through that lens. When the high-status person talks, you listen harder, you nod more, you remember what they said. When they make a good point, you think, wow, smart. When they mess up, you barely notice. When the low-status person talks, your brain is already half checked out. They could say the exact same thing the high-status person said 10 minutes later, and you'll think it's less insightful. There's this wild study where researchers had people work in groups. They secretly told half the groups that men are better at the task and the other half that women are. Same task, same people, just different expectations. And what happened? In every single group, whoever they were told was naturally better got more speaking time, more influence, more credit for the group's success, even when they were objectively wrong. That's status generalization. Your brain uses visible markers, gender, age, how someone dresses, their title, to predict who's competent. And then it creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. The people who look credible get more chances to prove they're credible. And the people who don't, they get ignored, even if they're the most competent person in the room.
Now, here's where it gets darker. You know how every company loves to say, we're a meritocracy? Like that's the thing everyone says, right? We promote based on merit. We reward performance. The best people rise to the top. Researchers did this study where they had managers award bonuses. In some groups, they said this is a meritocracy. Reward people based purely on performance. You know what happened? Those managers gave men way bigger bonuses than women for the exact same performance. Not despite the meritocracy message, because of it. When you tell people, just be fair, their brain gives them a moral gold star. They think, oh, I'm already fair. I don't need to question myself. So they go with their gut. And their gut goes with whoever looks the part, whoever's visible, whoever seems like leadership material. The label doesn't make the system fair. The label gives people permission to be unfair while feeling righteous about it. All right, so by now you might be thinking, okay, I get it. Visibility wins. But why don't people just look deeper? Why don't they actually check if someone's competent? Great question. And the answer is because they can't. Let's say you're hiring someone. You've got 100 resumes. You've got 2 hours to pick 5 people to interview. You can't actually see their competence, right? You weren't there watching them work for the last 5 years. You just got a piece of paper with words on it. So what do? You look for signals. A degree from Harvard, that's a signal. It says, this person was smart enough to get in and disciplined enough to get out. 10 years at Google, signal. This person was good enough to get hired by Google. A certification, an award, a title, all signals. Now here's the thing about signals. They don't actually make you better at the job. That Harvard degree? Research shows it doesn't make you more productive than someone from a state school with the same abilities, but it does make you more likely to get hired. Because the hiring manager isn't trying to find the most competent person. They're trying to avoid making a bad choice that they'll get blamed for. If they hire the Harvard grad and it doesn't work out, everyone says, well, you tried. Harvard seemed like a safe bet. If they hire someone with no credentials and it fails, they're an idiot who took a stupid risk. So rational people, smart people, they optimize for signals, for visibility, for credentials. And once everyone starts doing this, it becomes the only game in town. The system doesn't reward competence, it rewards the appearance of competence. And over time, people get so good at faking the signals that the signals stop meaning anything, but we keep using them anyway because we don't have anything better. Okay, so let's bring this home, because you might be sitting there thinking, great, the system's rigged. What am I supposed to do with that information? Fair question. Look, I'm not saying competence doesn't matter. You can't be completely useless and just charm your way to the top forever. That's not how it works. What I'm saying is, competence is the entry fee. It gets you in the door, but it's not what gets you promoted. Think of it like this. Competence is like having a great product. Visibility is like having great marketing. You can have the best product in the world, but if nobody knows it exists, you're going to lose to the mediocre product that everyone's heard of. That's not fair, but it's true. So what do? First, you stop waiting for your work to speak for itself, because it won't. It can't. Your work is invisible to most of the people making decisions about your career. You have to make yourself visible. That means showing up, speaking up, making sure the right people know your name and know what you've accomplished. And yeah, I know, some of you are thinking, but I don't want to be fake. I don't want to play politics. I just want to do good work. I get it. I really do. But here's the reality. Making yourself visible isn't being fake. It's recognizing how the game actually works. You're not lying about what you did. You're just making sure people know you did it. You're not taking credit for other people's work. You're making sure you get credit for your work. Because here's what nobody tells you. If you stay invisible, you don't just miss promotions. You start to resent the system. You watch people less capable than you climb past you. You feel like you're being punished for doing the right thing, for putting your head down and working hard. And that resentment, it eats at you. It makes you bitter. It isolates you from the people who are playing the game successfully. Eventually, you either burn out or you leave convinced the whole world is corrupt. But the world isn't corrupt. It's just playing by rules you refuse to see. Sarah can be the best performer on the team, but if nobody knows Sarah exists, Sarah's staying right where she is. Not because she's bad at her job, Because she's invisible. And in 5 years, when Mike's a VP and Sarah's still in the same role, she'll tell herself it's because the system is broken. But the system was never designed to find her in the first place. So let me tie this all together. We've talked about why visibility beats competence, and it comes down to 3 things. 1, human brains can't process everything. We're drowning in information, so we take shortcuts. And the biggest shortcut is, who can I see? 2, the system is designed this way. Managers hoard talent. Organizations reward signals over substance. Meritocracy becomes a shield for bias instead of a cure for it. And 3, it's self-reinforcing. The people who are visible get more opportunities, which makes them more visible, which gets them more opportunities. It's a loop that keeps spinning. Now, you might be wondering, is there any hope? Can this change? Honestly, on a systemic level, probably not anytime soon. But on an individual level, absolutely. Because once you see the game, you can't unsee it. And that's actually powerful. You stop wondering why the loudest person in the meeting got the promotion. You know why. You stop being confused when your brilliant coworker gets passed over. You understand the mechanics. And most importantly, you stop playing the wrong game. You realize that doing great work in isolation is a losing strategy, not because great work doesn't matter, but because nobody's watching. So, you start being intentional about visibility. You share your wins. You build relationships. You make sure the right people know your name and know what you've accomplished.
Because here's the hard truth. The world doesn't reward the best. It rewards the best known. And once you accept that, you can actually do something about it. Sarah doesn't have to stay invisible forever. She just has to understand that being amazing at her job is only 10% of the equation. The other 90%, that's about being seen. So the question isn't, is this fair? The question is, now that you know the rules, what are you going to do about it? All right, that's it.
So I hope you found this valuable, and if you like this video, subscribe. And if you want to watch more videos like this, click just right here.